Ladies and gentlemen, this is the debt clock, that used to be out in public. And because America wants to hide everything they're bad at, so what they do is they'll take it down, but you can still access it online. And I remember back in the day, they used to try to say the black community was bad with money. But the problem is, the black community is not $28 trillion in debt. Okay. Nor have we ever been in this kind of debt, despite the crazy things they try to imply. So this is the recent US national debt. It looks really bad, doesn't it? Now, who's bad with the money? They've been bad with the money from day one, y'all. Don't believe their hype. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get on with the real story now. This is Janet Yellen, and she is in charge of the Treasury Department here in America. Now, she is warning of enormous economic repercussions from the war in Ukraine. Well, if that is the case, if we are looking at some serious economic problems, then why are y'all forking over this kind of money to Ukraine? Ladies and gentlemen, just take notice to who really is bad with money. Okay? Just take notice. The U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned Wednesday about the economic shockwave set off by the war in Ukraine, including disruptions to the global flow of food and energy. Russia's actions represent an unacceptable affront to the rules based global order and will have enormous economic repercussions in Ukraine and beyond, Yellen said during her testimony before the House Financial Services Committee. The war and the political response of the West, mostly through sanctions, have already sent food and energy prices soaring and has raised concerns about the economic slowdown or even recession. So they're talking about a recession is not that far off. But then again, why are you forking over all this money? And y'all are giving it to them like it's some bottomless pit of money here. Wow. But there is zero for reparations. Zero, you know? Okay. During the time of already rampant inflation around the world. In the United States, for example, inflation is at a level not seen in 40 years. Yellen described Russia's invasion as a brutal and unprovoked on Wednesday. But y'all attack brutally and unprovoked. Y'all do that here in this country. Nobody's a bigger witness than the black community. Okay? Y'all do that. So how are we going to be outraged that it's going on over there? All right. So this is what she said on Wednesday. Emphasize the Treasury Department is committed to holding Russia accountable for its actions. You need to hold yourselves accountable for the actions that you've done in America. Don't leave yourself off the list. On Wednesday, the Biden administration imposed new sanctions on Russia's bank institution and as well as individuals, including Vladimir Putin's adult daughters. These new sanctions followed horrific images of the carnage and possible war crimes in Ukraine. Okay, well. But the fact that America's European partners remain heavily reliant on Russia energy exports limit what the West can do. The United States intend to inflict the maximum sanctions, pain possible against Russia. Yeah, while their ruble is rising. Okay, yeah, that's some real pain. The issue with blocking oil exports from Russia is that many countries, especially in Europe, are very dependent on that oil, she said. And we're likely going to see skyrocketing prices if we did put a complete ban on oil. You already got skyrocketing. Do y'all ever take notice to the way these folks speak as if these things are not going on now? The prices of gas and oil has already been skyrocketing in the US for the last several weeks. They always talk like it's not happening yet. It's not happening yet. Man, I remember them even doing this on jobs. I mean, I guess it's just something they do. Germany, for example, would be left out in the cold literally if it stopped importing Russia gas. Germany is Russia's biggest energy customer in the in the EU, which depends on Moscow for 40% of its natural gas. Global spillovers from the crisis are heightening economic vulnerabilities in many countries that are already facing higher debt burdens and limited policy options as they recover from the pandemic. Y'all not recovering from the pandemic. Wow. These people are supposed to have a lot of education, y'all. Listen, we're recovering from the pandemic. No, you're not. You're not recovering from no pandemic. Energy prices have been driven higher by concerns about supply from Russia, the number one exporter of crude oil in the world. We are witnessing the vulnerability that comes from relying on one fuel source or one trade partner, Yellen said, which is why it is imperative to diversify energy sources and suppliers. Wow, do you realize you should have done this? If you were going to do this, you should have done it decades ago. You know why they're relying on Russia? Because in their minds, they don't fight each other. So there shouldn't be any problems, but it didn't work out the way they thought. You know, Putin is very different from the rest of these folks. He really is. And I think they are having a problem dealing with that. See, they're used to always going in lockstep with each other, and he refuses to go in lockstep with the rest of the world. And they are not getting it, they're not understanding. He is different from them. He really is, as far as the way he feels, the way he thinks, the kind of actions he takes is far different from the rest of them. And this is why they can't read Putin right, because they keep thinking about their own thoughts and how they feel and how they would handle things, and he doesn't go according to that. So I would call that an inability to think outside the box. Russian invasion disrupted the flow of food for millions of people around the world and caused price spikes, the Treasury Secretary said. Yellen said that the press multilateral development banks to speed up food aid, and this is to vulnerable countries. Meanwhile, so Yellen is pretty much saying, the lawmakers' response and questions about a potential conflict between China and Taiwan, which is coming. That is coming. And what a U.S. response to that might look like. No, China is going to go after Taiwan. You can best believe it. If you think they're not sitting back and watching in the cut what Russia and Ukraine are doing, you better think again. They are studying that to a T. They are going to go in on Taiwan. Make no mistake about it. Certainly, we are concerned about Taiwan and we will act appropriately. She said, what? You want to act appropriately with some more sanctions that haven't even worked on Putin? Please. U.S. the only thing you need to do is go somewhere and sit down. You're not going to help the situation. And from what we're seeing, all you're doing is sanctions and forking over more money to Ukraine. Sanctions and forking over more money. Sanctions and forking over more aid. Sanctions and forking over some more humanitarian. That's all we're seeing you do. We're not seeing, we're not seeing you do nothing else. But in the meantime, this woman is sitting in your face saying, you got some financial troubles ahead. Now, who the hell does that? I'll tell you who does that. Somebody that is extremely bad with money does that. But y'all, please tell me what you think about this story. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.